400 years ago, a company was created that would become richer than any empire before it and any corporation after it. Not richer than Apple. Not richer than Amazon. Not richer than all modern tech giants combined. This company didn't just sell products. It rewrote the rules of power. It invented the modern corporation, created the world's first stock market, launched the first IPO, and proved something terrifyingly simple: money could rule more effectively than kings. Its name was the Dutch East India Company, and behind it stood a family that understood this truth before anyone else: the House of Orange. When people think of old money and global power, they usually point to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, or J.P. Morgan. But long before those names meant anything, a quiet network of Dutch merchants and nobles engineered the blueprint of modern capitalism. They built a system where trade, war, and finance moved as one. And once that machine began turning, the world was never the same again. To see how this began, we have to go back to the year 1580. Europe was shifting, and power was concentrating. Spain absorbed Portugal under a single crown, instantly merging two of the largest colonial empires on Earth. Overnight, Spain gained control over Portuguese trade routes stretching across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. For the Dutch provinces, still fighting for independence from Spain, this was a nightmare scenario. Their enemy had become nearly unstoppable. The Dutch knew they could not win through brute force alone. Spain had silver, soldiers, and ships. The Dutch had something else: innovation. Instead of matching Spain cannon for cannon, they decided to weaponize capital itself. In 1602, multiple Dutch trading firms were merged into a single entity, the Verenigd Oost-Indisch Compagnie, or VOC. On paper, it was a trading company focused on commerce in the East Indies. In reality, it was the most radical political invention of its time. This was not just a business. The VOC had armed fleets, private armies, fortified ports, and legal authority to wage war. But its most revolutionary feature wasn't military, it was financial. For the first time in history, ordinary citizens could buy shares in a global enterprise. They could fund imperial expansion and profit from it without owning land or holding noble titles. Wealth was no longer inherited. It was manufactured. This new system allowed the VOC to grow at a speed no kingdom could match. It didn't need royal treasuries or tax revenues. It raised capital from the public and reinvested endlessly. Power was no longer tied to crowns, it flowed through markets. And while merchants designed this machine, someone else quietly secured its foundation. That force was the House of Orange. Despite their noble status, they ruled no kingdom. Their authority rested on fragile political arrangements inside a merchant-led republic. Spain wanted them destroyed. Dutch elites wanted less aristocratic influence. Feudal power was collapsing, and the House of Orange stood at a crossroads. Either they faded into irrelevance or they evolved. They chose evolution. The House of Orange aligned itself with the VOC, investing capital and tying its future to the success of this new economic order. They did not command the company, but they depended on it, and it depended on them. Over time, this relationship became institutional. Descendants of the House of Orange, including William IV and William V, became leading figures connected to both the East India Company and the West India Company. Without wearing crowns, they wielded influence greater than most monarchs in Europe. At its height, the VOC functioned as a sovereign power. It negotiated treaties, governed colonies, minted currency, and commanded armies. Its estimated value in today's terms exceeds $7 trillion. During its golden age, more than 1 million people left the Netherlands to serve its operations across Asia. These were not settlers seeking freedom. They were employees of a global corporation. The company recruited sailors, soldiers, administrators, and craftsmen to build an empire stretching from Japan to the Persian Gulf. Its workforce enforced Dutch interests with contracts when possible and violence when necessary. Warehouses, ports, and fortresses became symbols of corporate authority. This was empire without a crown. The VOC's dominance rested on three pillars: a powerful government charter, Amsterdam's financial elite, and the strategic backing of the House of Orange. Its charter granted it exclusive control over Asian trade and authority normally reserved for states. It could declare war, seize land, and govern foreign populations. With tens of thousands of employees and its own military forces, the company moved through the world like a nation with shareholders. No, where was this power more visible than in Southeast Asia? After establishing a foothold near the Siliwang River, the VOC seized Jakarta in 1619 and renamed it Batavia. This city became the command center of Dutch operations in Asia for nearly 3 centuries. From Batavia, the company controlled trade routes, influenced local rulers, and reshaped entire economies. Dutch cultural traces in Indonesia today remain a direct legacy of this period. None of this would have been possible without a financial revolution. In 1602, the VOC launched the world's first public share offering. Investors could buy permanent ownership in the company rather than funding individual voyages. This stability allowed long-term planning on a global scale. Soon after, shares began trading freely in Amsterdam, giving birth to the world's first stock exchange. With that came speculation, risk management, and financial engineering. Traders began pricing future expectations and hedging uncertainty. One legal innovation made it all possible: limited liability. Investors could lose only what they invested, protecting their personal wealth. This single concept unlocked mass participation in capitalism and remains foundational today. Dutch financial ideas didn't stay contained for long. One man carried them abroad: William of Orange. Raised within this system, he understood that markets were not a distraction from power but a source of it. In 1688, England faced political collapse. Parliament invited William to intervene. He arrived not just with troops but with a new way of governing. After taking the English throne with his wife Mary, William oversaw reforms that transformed England's economy. The Bank of England, public debt markets, and government bonds all followed Dutch models. War was no longer funded by royal gold, it was funded by investors. Across the Atlantic, Dutch influence had already reached North America. In 1624, the Dutch founded New Amsterdam on Manhattan Island. Its organized streets, trade networks, and legal customs mirrored Amsterdam's financial culture. When the British captured the city and renamed it New York, they kept the system intact. It worked. Over time, these foundations helped transform a trading post into the financial capital of the modern world. By the 1700s, Amsterdam and London had merged their strengths. Dutch banking stability combined with British market innovation, shaping global finance. These ideas traveled west through colonial networks and became embedded in American institutions. The architecture of modern capitalism had been built. But even giants fall. By the late 1700s, corruption and inefficiency weakened the VOC. Military costs rose, competition increased, and oversight collapsed. Global markets grew less tolerant of monopolies. In 1796, the Dutch government dissolved the company. After nearly 2 centuries, the VOC was gone, but its blueprint survived. Today, the Netherlands no longer rules the seas, but it remains a financial powerhouse. Trillions flow through Dutch corporate structures. The House of Orange still reigns symbolically, yet its economic influence endures. From energy to banking, royal ties remain embedded in Dutch industry. This legacy, however, is inseparable from violence. The VOC committed massacres, enforced forced labor, and destroyed indigenous societies. Entire populations were wiped out in the Banda Islands. Thousands died in Batavia and Ambon. These crimes stand alongside its financial innovations and cannot be ignored. The rise of the Dutch East India Company reveals a hard truth: capital can rule more effectively than crowns. The House of Orange understood this centuries ago. They built a system where markets became sovereign. And today, as money moves faster than armies ever could, one question remains: if markets now hold the power once reserved for kings, then who truly wears the crown when the crown is invisible?